It is day 2, and today's big goal is to get the footers dug and hopefully poured there and here so that it can harden, and then we can start on actually constructing the wall. What's happening on day 2?
So for today, our goal is going to be to dig out our new footers for our wall. We're going to have a straight footer from the house to the step basically on this side, which will have a full solid wall there. And then we've got our footer along the deck extension, which will have a full breeze block wall here. And then we're going to have kind of an elbow out here that'll go straight towards the yard, which will have just a solid cinder block wall, which will be kind of the end of the ramp as you come from the carport to the backyard.
Get to digging. Ooh boy. So as you saw in the last video, we built this base for our rain tank, but we were a little short on soil, so we used this opportunity with everything we were digging out in the footer to remove the rain tank, top off the soil, level it out, and put the rain tank back so that it had a nice firm base.
In the first episode, you saw us put up these temporary supports once the deck framing was fully completed. Once we got the footers dug out, we decided to go ahead and place the permanent footer in. Now, in this case, it's really easy for us to make sure everything's leveled off with those temporary supports, and then you know exactly where you can place your post supports. So it is a little bit trickier digging around the joists and such, but we did make it work, and it allows us to make them the perfect height for each one. And then once all the holes are prepped, you just want to double check level for your bracing, and then you place in your 4x4 supports, get those fully secured to your deck frame, and then basically fill in around those 4x4 supports. So right now the deck frame is still basically held fully by the temporary bracing, those 2x6s we see there, but the concrete will harden and hold the deck in the future.
Now that we're done with the supports for the deck, it was time to measure out and build our forms for the footers for our breeze block wall. When digging your footers, the hole you've dug is usually pretty rough in shape, but once you've created and built your forms, you're able to dig out any extra dirt and then place the forms, get it secured and leveled so that you can pour your concrete.
So one of the challenges that we had with our wall is the fact that there is a separation or break between the two spaces. Normally we wouldn't worry about them being perfectly level, but in this case we're using the pattern breeze block, and so it was going to be really important that the patterns lined up. And also we've kind of designed a bit of an arch, or what would you call that?
A header?
A header, yeah, some sort of header on top that connects the two walls. So it was going to be really important that the pattern was able to line up and come across seamlessly. But when creating these foundations, we know obviously the ground is not perfect and ours slopes pretty heavily, so we were trying to figure out the best way to make sure that both of our tops of our framework here was perfectly level. So we had to create a little bit of a jig. We used an 8-foot 2x4 with just some lengths of 2x4s on either side, which allowed us to start across the back, and the 2x4 leg for the frame touches the top of our frame board here, and allowed us to put a level on that and check that at various points. And so it basically created a little bit of a jig or a bridge that allowed us to see that they were going to be level across the top.
And now that the forms are leveled and secured, it was time to mix concrete. This took quite a bit of time. We were mixing it by hand. In hindsight, we probably would have done concrete by the truckload, to be honest, or just a much larger concrete mixer. But in fairness, we did extend our wall, of course, during our construction process, so the footers became a little bit larger than we were originally anticipating. We ended up using about 50 bags of concrete total and moved them bucket by bucket. And 600 billion buckets of concrete later, we finally got the footers fully poured. Now, on this, you'll see we are using a stick to kind of remove any air bubbles, mostly because I couldn't find our concrete vibrator, but a concrete vibrator would have worked great as well. But because we're not going to see the finished edge of this footer, I wasn't too worried about them being perfect, but it is going to be really important that you do remove any air out of the concrete. I then used a scrap piece of 2x4 to just screed the top, so a lot of shimmying back and forth to get us a nice level surface. Because concrete does have a lot of gravel and we're placing the blocks on top, we want to make sure that we've got as smooth of a surface as possible.
Alright, so it's day 3 of our breeze block wall
Pool
deck extension project. And yesterday we were able to get this footer done. We ran out of time to do that footer, so that's going to be today's first focus. However, we are looking at the possibility of rain. So is it okay to pour before it rains?
As long as we don't get a lot of rain.
I think it's only supposed to be a little bit, but it also has not rained here in 2 months. So it could, ooh, that was a drop.
It's going to be a dust bowl.
Yeah, so it's going to be gross. But honestly, everything here could use a nice rinse. These clothes, these shorts are so gross right now from mixing concrete yesterday. But
Yeah, you're wearing the same shorts. They're gonna like stand
I don't
up right
have
on
like
their own.
all of these work shorts. They're all too small now. So hopefully this project I'll lose some weight and I'll be able to fit into a lot of my old work shorts. I was gonna say something. Oh, do you think we have enough concrete? Because we used about twice as much than we anticipated. on
Well,
this one.
in fairness, we didn't use twice as much. We built a whole new arm to this wall last minute. So
I still don't think we were expecting it to be 30 bags.
this,
though.
well, not this. This was supposed to be 30 bags.
So we have about 8 bags left.
I think it'll be fine. That one's not as long as these. I think it'll be great.
And then once we're done with that, killing time, we're changing our schedule to go back
Well,
to
we're
the gravel?
gonna get this removed so that the concrete doesn't stick too hard
To the boards?
to the boards, right? Yep. So we'll get this one poured. We're gonna get this one removed. It'll also let air circulate around the footer, and then yeah, I think we're gonna switch back to grading work since we can't set the block work. We're gonna give this 48 hours to dry because it is so massive, just to be safe.
I mean, yeah,
Then that'll give 24 hours for that one.
we're at well over 12 hours now, and that corner's still definitely wet.
I mean, you can walk on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll go to grading.
All right, let's do it.
And we were back to pouring footer number 2. We didn't do too great at filming all of the rebar installation, but you do want to make sure that you've got rebar and mesh for reinforcement for any footers.
All right, with 2 bags to spare.
Flowing on that side. So it's just a matter of like moving those top few pieces of gravel back and forth until they're right where you want them. But it also, because of the moisture that builds up on the top, it gives you a smoother surface. So then you don't end up with bridges like this. So when you go to lay your block, you don't have random like gravel that is stuck in the concrete.
Gotcha.
Now that the forms are fully dry, it was time to remove the forms. It's best to use screws instead of nails when building your form so that you can more easily disassemble it. As we were disassembling it, we were making sure to be careful that nothing was too wet and sticking to the boards, but we got a really clean removal. We did run into one tricky spot where the forms were up against the corner of the existing deck and step. The board going along the deck extension had sort of bent under the pressure of the concrete and wedged itself underneath the new supports, and so we had to very carefully bend and break the screws that were holding the 2 forms together. So one thing we're known for is our project creep, and we have just identified a project opportunity that we are going to take advantage of. We removed the slat wall from the outdoor kitchen, and since we already had all the material, why not make something with it?
So we already had in the plan the idea of doing a privacy wall here and transitioning that to kind of a cinder block concrete L-shaped seating space for the fire pit. So why not do it now? We're already here.
We got the stuff.
Right.
Somehow
Do it.
we have extra concrete.
It's great.
So in this context, the placement of the holes might look a little random, but I promise you they are part of the design. When walking out of our glass door, this wall is directly in front of you, helping to give additional privacy from the creek behind our house. And as we said, it will tie into the future fire pit area.
So in the process of reusing these metal posts, the first time we did the installation, like you can see on this board, we drove self-tappers into the metal at every board. But what that caused was a lot of cracking because they are thin boards. So what we're thinking we'll do this time is we'll put a 2x4 on the front of the metal post and then put the boards across that. Though it does kind of hide the metal post a little bit, you wouldn't see the metal post from the front anyways with how we're about to do this wall. So we're not too worried about it. So we're gonna try this to attach those thin boards to the 2x4 instead of attaching them to the metal.
What were you saying?
This is somewhere working and somewhere in here. This is the work zone.
It's the general.
This is the general working area.
So you were saying that you thought what?
going to be working over there.
Yeah.
But then they're working over here. So it's just like a lot.
I mean, how long have you known us?
How long have you lived here?
Yeah. This is,
Wait, when did you move?
Barker East. Yeah.
You know we do love our scope creep.
It's you know, it's always surprising though. You think it wouldn't be at some point, and yet here I am still surprised. Yeah.
And now that it's winter, you can see how the privacy wall provides screening once all the leaves have fallen.
And that's it for episode 2, where we finished all of our footers and our privacy wall.
If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little bell icon to be notified next time we post another video. Also, make sure you check out our website where we have blogs and merch, as well as our other social media profiles on Instagram and TikTok at Rodney and Jake.
And as always, we want to give a huge shout out to all of our members. If you're not already a member and you're interested in joining, definitely click the link in the description below. Our members get things like behind the scenes footage, as well as early access to some of our videos.
Until next week, we'll see you next time.